Something everybody's noticed lately is how many new RC rally cars are entering the market. I mean, every time I log on and check out what's going on in the RC world, it's starting to feel like all we're ever seeing is rally cars. Now, I'm not complaining, it's not a bad thing because I do love RC rally cars, but what I have noticed is there isn't really many good cheaper options. Well, that may be about to change because what you see here is a 1/12 scale £60 or $80 rally car. Now, thankfully, this thing has turned up in one piece because when this thing arrived, it wasn't exactly in the best of conditions. So this is exactly how this thing has turned up to my house. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this. Now, this doesn't happen all the time. I'm not sure what's happened here, but yeah, packaging wise, that's not ideal. So in here, it looks like we've got a manual, some LEDs, a USB charger, a cross wrench and some spare body clips. So let's have a look at this 1/12 scale rally car. I'm really hoping this thing turns out to be good. We'll get back to the rally car in a moment, but first let's talk about the transmitter. Now, I think you can probably tell on the video that this thing does feel and look pretty cheap. You do get steering trim, steering dual rate and gyro adjustment up on the top there. Yeah, this doesn't feel the best. So obviously the way this thing turned up did get me a little bit worried. Now, this also worries me a little bit because they've put on the box that this is a 1/12 scale crawler. Yeah, that doesn't look like a 1/12 scale crawler. So this is by a company called Sanyao. That's probably wrong. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. So let's take a look at this rally car then. Now, initial impressions, well, actually, I really like the look of this thing. We've got some vents on the bonnet there and a hard plastic rear wing. It does look a little bit odd from behind, but I think I can deal with that. So what I'll do is I'll take this film off and then we'll get some more close-ups of this rally car. Right, I've got the plastic off. Here's a few close-up shots. And actually, this thing doesn't look too bad. It's crazy that it only costs around £60. So taking a look under the body, and do you know what? I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Now, something you wouldn't usually see at this price point is oil-filled shocks, and guess what? This does have oil-filled shocks. That's actually really surprised me because compared to some of the other cars in this kind of price range, usually you get friction shocks, so that is a very good start. Just look how flexible this is. The plastics on this feel really soft. Now, it is worth noting this is a new car. This isn't the same as the version 1 that we see about 5 or 6 months ago. Now, I didn't actually own a version 1. Evan over at Derby City RC had one of those. He actually had a lot of good things to say about the car, and he also went on to make it brushless, and he managed to get way more performance out of it. Now, the version 1 cars had plastic axles. Now, this one's been upgraded and it now has front metal CVDs and of course metal dog bones on the rear. Although they haven't upgraded the differentials, they're still plastic on this one. Now, I did have a chat with Evan and he's told me that there's possibly a version 2 coming, or at the very least a brushless pro version, if you will, which will of course have more metal components, including the differentials. So electronics wise, well, of course this is running a brush system. So yes, there is a chance this is going to be really slow, but don't click away yet because I've got some plans for this one. So there's not really a lot to say about the electronics on this. It's a very basic 2-in-1 ESC and receiver. So let's see how fast it goes using the included pack, and then I'm going to see how fast it goes using a LiPo, because sometimes you can get a little bit more power out of a LiPo pack compared to a lithium ion pack. So I've got the GPS on this. Let's see how fast it goes. That's full throttle. Yeah, it's really slow actually. I'm going to guess 15 miles per hour maybe. It might even be slower than that. Yeah, it's really slow. Is it too slow to have fun with? Possibly. It's not always about top speed. I have done a podcast episode over on beyondRC kind of talking about top speeds and people's obsession with top speed at the moment. Check that out if you haven't already. That's a pretty decent episode. I kind of go into detail why so many people just base all of their buying decisions at the moment on top speeds. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in checking that out. I mean, yeah, this thing is really slow, potentially too slow to be enjoyed. Now, I know Evan actually made his brushless, and I'm tempted to also do that because I think this chassis has potential. But with its current power system, obviously the aim was to make this thing nice and affordable. But you know, there's affordable, then there's, you know, you've also got to tick the fun box. Is this going to be fun off-road with these, you know, this kind of power level? Yeah, I don't know if it is. Right, let's bring it back. Let's see what we got. I'm going to say 12 miles per hour, maybe 13. I'm going to say 13. So let's hit stop and read. 17. Okay, so it was a little bit quicker than I thought it was going to be. So this time I've got a 2S LiPo in there. Let's see if this makes any difference. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. LiPo batteries can be a little bit more punchy, but again, it just feels a little bit underwhelming, a little bit boring. It just needed to be a little bit more powerful, I think. So that's full throttle again. Now this also has a gyro, and that does help to keep it in a straight line, although you don't really need that much help because it's so slow. Yeah, I think this may just be a little bit too slow out the box. I'm excited to see what the ready-to-run brushless version is going to be like. I really do hope they release that. Right, let's see what we got. So changing the battery out did give us a little bit more performance, but again, that's still pretty slow. So let's give this a little off-road test. Now I've come over to a really bumpy location because I want to see how those shocks perform. Now this is a relatively lightweight car, and yeah, it does handle pretty well even on this kind of surface. You know, these smaller rally cars can sometimes struggle on rough terrain. Now this handles this rough terrain pretty well actually. The shocks seem to perform quite well as well. It's not bouncing around like crazy like it would have done if it had friction shocks. Now rally cars, when you go below 1/10 scale, can sometimes be a little bit questionable, but actually, even though this is smaller, this is pretty good. I think if this had a little bit more power, it would be way more fun, way more exciting. It just feels underwhelming because of that brush system. Yeah, I think that needs to go, and I think this needs to be brushless. So the question is, do I wait for the ready-to-run brushless version, or do I try and make my own? Oh, come on, we're going back to my channel roots here. This is how I've grown over the years, from taking small stuff like this, making it more powerful, doing brushless conversions. Let's do it, let's make this thing brushless, and then we'll get it back out and we'll see if it's any more fun. So let's see if there's any difference when it comes to speed. That's full throttle. Now this is on 2S at the moment. On 3S I think it's going to be way quicker. Full throttle again. So yeah, this does feel quicker than the stock brush system. With the 2S LiPo that I tested, I managed to achieve 19. Are we going to see more than 19 now this is on the brushless system? I'm hoping so, otherwise, well, it was kind of pointless. I don't think it's going to be much quicker, but I'm hoping for 22, 23 miles per hour maybe, and then I think 3S will take us into the 30s, which is going to be way more fun with this little car. Right, let's see what we got. So this time I managed to achieve 22 miles per hour with the new brushless system and a 2S LiPo. I think we need to see how fast this will go on 3S. Now, I've been trying for 2 days to get this done. The weather's been terrible. Thankfully, the ground is now a little bit dry, so we can attempt this top speed. What are we going to see out of this? Let's bring it back and find out. Yeah, this feels a lot quicker than the stock brush system. So let's see what we got on 3S. 34 miles per hour this time. So I think that was definitely a worthwhile upgrade. Now, of course, there's going to be people out there who may be thinking, hang on, 34 miles per hour on 3S, That sounds quite slow. Now, if we go back to the clips of the conversion process, you may have seen that this thing has a tiny little 14-tooth pinion. There's no way of increasing the pinion size because it does have a fixed motor mount. Using a higher kV motor could give us a bit more speed with that 14-tooth pinion. But let's be honest, 34 miles per hour, when we get this thing off-road, I think that's going to be way more fun compared to how it was with the brush system. So we're back off-road and this thing feels so much more fun now compared to before. That brush system was just so underwhelming and so boring. But this on 3S, with its new brushless system, is so much more fun. Yeah, I really hope they do a brushless ready to run version of this because, you know, this is actually a lot more fun now. The brush system just isn't very good, but brushless, this thing is an entirely different beast and way more fun. Yeah, this thing is proof that you really don't have to spend a lot of money. You can take a cheap RC car and make it way better, and it's fun. The entire process is fun. Yeah, I really like this. So there we go then. That is how you take a £60 or $80 RC car and make it 10 times better. Okay, I know it was a lot of work and most people will probably go down the ready to run route, and I'm hoping they actually produce a ready to run brushless version of this because this actually turned out to be a lot of fun. Now, the overall conversion process was really simple, and if you're watching this thinking, I'm gonna give it a go for £60, $80, absolutely. I'll leave all the links down below to all of the parts used in today's video. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Cheers for watching, see you on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed today's video but you're looking for something a little bit better out the box, check out one of these two rally cars.